All right, that looks stable. So, welcome everyone once again to, us doing things. In this particular case, D&D in Hindsight, where we continue on to the Monster Manual of 3.5. I'm Vincent.
I am the Krampus.
I'm Shiv.
I'm a mimic pretending to be Hunter Green.
And I am Vincent, who did not actually put the mimic on these slides, but I don't know if that really counts for much of anything.
I'm not gonna lie, I'd forgotten the one. I went over over
Mimic
10
could be
of
any
these.
of the slides.
Huh?
Yep,
Mimic could be any of those slides.
Exactly.
that's true.
Could be the book itself.
I went over 10 different variations of what I was gonna say for that. That was the one I thought of immediately and said, no, mimics don't mimic living beings. The one I had decided on and then forgot was I am Hunter Green, but with a celestial template.
That's more relevant, strangely enough. Any case.
Yes.
Of the initial 3 books, this is probably the most actually useful of the old books if you don't plan on running 3.5. Mainly because it's a bunch of monsters in it. What do you want? With a decent amount of actual fluff, too.
Fluff and description and everything.
Yeah. Nonetheless, it's still a 3.5 book. It has its issues, but, what doesn't? So, this page is actually a great example of, 3.5 has a lot of types and subtypes.
It sure do.
As you can see at the bottom of these 2 pages. A good portion of which also have their own special rules associated with them because...
Yes, they do.
And a bit of fairness, they tend to be written out on the stat blocks, though sometimes them writing out on the stat blocks consist of writing the words undead traits and incorporeal traits with no actual elaboration of what that means.
Well, you know.
But yeah. With that very brief thing, this is not going to have anywhere near as much mechanical depth to it as the previous 2 books because we've already gone over most things. This is just basically, so there's going to be more of a fluff discussion than anything else, but there's still things here and there. Most notably, and we'll start with our example monster, which also happens to be the first one in the book, Aboleth. This is what you can see that they continue to have the kind of questionable layout of the previous books, though it's not quite as bad by virtue of when they actually do the monster stat blocks. They at least have to keep that on one page and can't have it flow over to another page. But B, what the fuck does this thing do?
Well, that depends. We're talking about an Aboleth or an Aboleth mage.
Either, I don't care. Also, where do you see spellcasting in that block? Because it's not there. So they leave a decent amount of psionics, technically. They leave a decent amount under combat.
Spellcasting isn't in that block, it's in the combat section for Aboleth.
Yeah, it is in the combat section, which is its own problem. These blocks are kind of a mess. And it takes... The more complex a monster you have, the more studying it takes to actually figure out what it is. Also not helping it is attacks are midway through the top, kind of, as opposed to, at the bottom, all the information that would actually be useful to be in an easily findable place. It's
Most
just
useful information's at the top.
Yeah.
Minus, realistically, save should be above, special attacks and special qualities, but...
Yeah. It's not, the worst thing in the world, but the layout definitely could use some work, and they did some work in total fairness.
Realistically, save should be directly under armor class.
Yeah.
The other defensive thing.
But, yeah. It's not like this is anything all that different from previous editions, the big difference being that previous editions' characters and monsters were a lot simpler. So... there wasn't as much to get muddled in the layout in general. But this does get fixed in editions past this book. I actually pulled up some examples from the future. So this is a 4th edition stat block, and I have my complaints about 4th edition, but their stat blocks for monsters are damn solid when it comes to just having something that is immediately useful. And, I need this little snippet. I can run this monster without really much of an issue. Here's Pathfinder First Edition, which is also better, which is even worse in a sense because these are actually the same rules.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, you see, they combined your saves and your hit points and your AC.
Yeah.
And then they made all those special abilities in the block as opposed to in the combat section.
And the spells. The spells are also there too in the offensive part.
The spells are
yeah.
there. Yeah. Spell-like abilities.
And finally, here's what it looks like in 5th edition, where also fairly clean. I honestly think 4th is the most straightforward, but it's less elaborate at the same time. It's just kind of the side effect of 4th being a weird...
4th.
Yeah, being 4th, but that's purview for possible future series of one sort or another if we ever get around to it. But yeah, also in general, Aboleth, it's an aberration, very Cthulhu inspired. Turns you into sea creatures. I think that's about it.
Like you do.
Yeah, exactly. All right. In any case, moving on. Because
Who hasn't been turned into a sea creature at one point in their existence?
I haven't been.
I don't believe you.
I don't know if that's true, Fishman Jim.
Sure. Blame the guy named Fishman Jim. Going back to Ian Smith.
Indeed. Right.
Sorry.
So, next, because if you can't tell, we're doing this in alphabetical order, Angels. Which is a good example of basically the alignment outsiders in general, albeit on the higher end of the power scale, because there's like 3 angels.
Yep.
More than 3.
In this book.
No,
in the
just
Monster
I think
Manual.
there's 3.
I think Archons and all that kind of jazz too are separate. So
Yeah, those are separate Celestials.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Angels in general are generic servants of the gods of the goody good planes. Fairly powerful heavy hitters, and especially the Solar, which is outright challenging 23, as it's literally an epic creature. But yeah, in general, they're a good example of...
I mean, it only has AC 35 and 209 hit points. It explodes on contact with the player.
Oh, probably because, well, it depends on the player, but yeah, anyone who is power games of the guilds, it will explode on contact. It doesn't help the fact that a player character at level 20 is generally going to be ridiculous or useless, one of the two. Depending on whether or not they actually knew what they were doing when making a character. This game is very hyperbolic when it comes to that. But yeah, outsiders tend to have immunity to a few elements and resistance. Immunity to 1 or 2 elements, resistance to the rest. DR, which only applies to physical attacks, or damage reduction rather, that only applies to physical attacks that can be overcome in special ways. Usually it's DR/evil, which is overcome by good aligned weapons, basically the opposite alignment, or DR/lawful would be overcome by chaotic weapons. And or a material, if it happens to be on the law and chaos axis, it will be cold iron or silver. Cold iron for... yeah, cold iron tends to overcome chaotic ones. As they get higher in tier, basically it goes... At lower tier it tends to be an or, at higher tier it tends to be an and. So you'll need both, like, cold iron and good aligned in order to overcome a Balor's damage reduction.
Damage reduction. Yep.
Yeah. This creates tons of problems for the melee, and not quite as much for the spellcasters. As long as they're not trying to do elemental damage that isn't sonic, because nothing has resistance to sonic with one major exception. That you'll almost never see because people have to remember Slat exist.
Hedgehogs.
Yep. the major thing that spellcasters generally run into when it comes to outsiders is spell resistance. And by outsiders, I mean demons and devils, because realistically, you're not fighting angels in the vast majority of campaigns, unless somebody is like made a plot that has them, and even then we fought like one.
Well, what if your
Before
DM,
you bring that up,
You
what
fought
if
a
your
couple.
DM is Jim Megami Tensei? Walking you through a complex parable about good and evil, law and order.
You fought a couple. You fought Lament a couple times.
we did, but I'll be damned if I remember what Lament even had for. Did we?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we did. Granted, I think it was also a custom created angel.
Oh yeah, they
anyways.
weren't using regular stat blocks.
Yeah, so this was fairly irrelevant. But yeah, in general, it's not like player characters actually run into most of the good aligned monsters, or if they do, they're going to be there more as NPCs and less as things you actually fight. Doesn't mean they shouldn't be statted per se, but at the same time, there's less of an emphasis on them for good reason. Like, there are more demons and devils in this book than there are any of the good aligned stuff. Let's see, moving on. Speaking of good aligned stuff, Archons. Yeah, they're the lawful good outsiders from Celestia, Land of Ponies.
I say thee nay.
Not actually the flavor of Celestia, but I'll be damned if I remember what it is.
Generic good.
Yeah, that tends to be the thing with the upper planes, is they're fairly good. And again, why would your players be there is also a good question.
You could be running an evil campaign.
You could be running an evil campaign. Even then, that's like, okay, but still, the big problem with the planes themselves is it isn't even like limited to the upper planes. Like the lower planes have kind of the similar problem of like, I could go here and now I suck more, and this is going to be even worse after quite a while. Also on this page is actually how Archons as characters and why this is generally doesn't actually work very well. But is the first example of hey, you could run a Hound Archon. So
You have 6 hit dice and 5 level
adjustment. Yeah, which basically means you have 5 not counting levels for the So you're effectively in a level 11 campaign. You are a level 6 character, with some extra bonuses to attempt to account for losing 5 levels.
Yep.
Let's see.
In this case, it's going to be a bunch of stats. Actually, +9 natural armor is not terrible.
The +9 natural armor is not terrible. Natural attacks are basically fluff. They have legit good DR. Their spell resistance is actually okay. It's 16 plus class levels. Although it's class levels now that I look at it, it's less good than I thought it was, so because it doesn't count the racial hit dice. Never mind, it's 16. Where the things you're fighting are most likely themselves level 15 plus spellcasters. So, yeah. But yeah, the whole big issue is because you have 5 lost levels, you have 5 levels of not hit points.
Oh, 5 levels not hit points, 5 levels of not base attack bonus.
Yeah. And you're not doing a caster with it.
When you bring this character in, you're swinging twice, while the other melees are swinging 3 times.
Yeah.
Thrice.
You're technically have natural attacks.
Oh, yes, they have a bite and slam, which means you can attack with your bite and slam, or
you can do bite as a secondary when you do a full round as well. So you'd have 3 attacks. I think. Actually, you have slam too. Slam doesn't use any hands, so yeah, you should be able to throw both those natural attacks as secondaries. It's still not good, but
I don't remember if you can throw naturals as secondaries with weapon attacks on 3/5.
I don't remember either. It has been a while, and it's doesn't really matter. But yeah, the point being, like, basically, when it comes to level adjustment, the lower ones can sometimes be viable. The higher ones are almost never worth it.
Yep.
Okay. This page I only included in here just to kind of illustrate like how the art is actually kind of good at like, hey, are you looking for a random monster to fill a role of one sort or another, or just inspiration for like one type of enemy or another? Like the art is just really solid at like kind of telling you what these things are about.
Where to kill people.
Yep.
This is a four-winged bird. It's an X-wing.
Yep. It is a bird grafted on top of another bird, or at the bottom of the bird.
I have these two halves of birds split in the middle horizontally.
Okay, but why?
I was doing an experiment.
Ah, Professor Doublebird. That's right, and I'm here to flip you the Doublebird with my latest creation.
Oh god, he's back again, God. Get the broom.
Alright. Behir. A classic monster. I don't think I have much more to say, but it's a Behir.
Yeah, it's
Here,
like
be
a
there,
12-leg
be anywhere.
lizard thing.
Yep. That is a nice thing, or the major advantage this book has is effectively it is a greatest hits of like old D&D or all the monsters from the previous editions of D&D. The 4 to 9 previous editions of D&D. Don't think about it too hard.
Already stopped thinking about it.
Yeah.
Never started.
Including the Beholder. Also known as the random parts of your party may accidentally die.
Yep. Also known as, if you've heard of D&D monsters, you've probably heard of the Beholder.
Yeah. Yeah, another thing that is kind of a side effect of inheriting old D&D is, and the period of time that this book was released in, i.e. 2003, combat save or die effects on monsters were fairly common and not actually considered a bad thing in previous editions because characters took like 5 minutes to make, so if they died, it was almost a who cares, just bring in the next one. And a lot of the point in old editions was to actually try and avoid combat and get the treasure and leave. So to some extent, if you were in combat with Beholder, you've kind of fucked up a little. That is not, however, how 3.5 was built, so you kind of have the remnants of all the, this thing looks at you sideways, you fail to save, and congratulations, you've been disintegrated. Built into it. Kind of giving you the side effect of, oh yeah, this is more deadly than this edition is kind of built to be. Otherwise.
Yeah, this edition is designed to be deadly and also cost you XP and levels every time.
Yes, exactly. But I mean, the type of game it is generally not quite as built around. I mean, ADM can basically do what they want when it comes to how a campaign functions, but like your experience is very much tied to fighting monsters. You can make experience more based around gaining loot, how it used to be in previous editions. I don't think in all previous editions, but at least some of them. But at base, how the rules are written, it very much wants you to actually get into combat, and there are just some monsters that, if they get into combat with a party, there's a decent percentage chance somebody is just going to just die.
I mean, it depends on what level it is. There's a lot of monsters that get into combat, and the player party goes first, the monster never acts.
That's true too. Which is
the game
also
is very rocket tag.
It is very rocket tag, especially at higher levels. The other thing about Beholder is I don't know if I can't remember it being run too often, mainly because anything that involved the words anti-magic generally was like, yeah, I don't feel like dealing with that headache at the moment.
Yes, it does have a cone of anti-magic.
Yep. Yeah, that eye turns off magical effects, and in a game that is full of random-ass bonuses from random-ass magic items and or spells and or everything, it might take you like 10 minutes to figure out what your new AC is or something. Hey, guys. Bugbear First of the Goblinoids in the book, because it starts with B.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, bugbears, hobgoblins, and goblins are...
Oh my.
Huh?
I said, oh my.
Indeed. But yeah, they're goblinoids. Basically a sub-collection of monsters that are all like, I don't know, evil raiders. There's a lot of these monsters that basically fall under the like evil humanoid raider category. The bugbears the bugbears are the big brutes of the three. Also notable in the sense that let's see, they have 3 racial hit dice, 1 level adjustment.
Actually playable.
Yeah, they're actually playable. You could do a lot worse as a bruiser character. That is also kind of the thing when it comes to and 3 natural armor. Oh, yeah, that is absolutely nice.
Yeah, 3 natural armor, strength, dex, and con boost.
Yeah, those were 3 subpar levels and a level adjustment. Yeah, that is also the dirty little secret of it's not quite as bad later on, but when it comes to the initial 3 books, if you were trying to make a martial character, the best book to start with was probably the Monster Manual.
Then your DM telling you, no, you can't play a hobgoblin as the good camp, or a bugbear as the good camp.
It's a good bugbear. I shaved. I'm pretending to be happy.
I'm a baby.
Huh?
I am a chaotic good drow. We're so rare.
Do you see the hair on that thing? That is clearly just Wolverine.
Exactly.
You claim to be good, yet you have hands stapled to your shield.
Those were
Not my
evil
hands.
hands, and he's keeping them there to keep an eye on them.
You ate the body they belong to.
So
no,
why
you
you
don't
keep an
have-
eye on it?
So you don't have proof that I ate it.
I love
do.
it
By the
focusing
way-
on the hands and not the skull hanging from the crotch.
That could be a skull. That could be a skull he found on the ground.
That
Hands
is my-
have to be like actively collect. They have flesh on them.
That is my wife's skull, and this is how she wanted to be remembered. Anyways,
Okay, so moving on to the first of the templates, and something that's actually kind of neat that this edition does as well, which is here's the celestial creature template.
Yep.
Basically, take I don't know, let's see. In this case,
Think of choice.
yeah, animal, vermin, animal or vermin, or I don't know, fucking anything else if you really wanted to be completely honest. Here's some extra abilities. Here's adjustment to challenge rating.
Technically, they say any corporeal animal, dragon, fey, giant, humanoid, magical beast, monsters, humanoid, plant, or vermin. It's important to note they did include animal twice.
They really wanted you to do celestial animals.
So
I would
your
like to be a
example is a
celestial
lion.
bugbear.
You can absolutely be a celestial
Celestial
bugbear.
bugbear would be valid.
Yeah.
Eat that extra 2 level adjustment. Have fun.
Yeah.
Okay, Innkeeper, how
Now-
did you get celestial rats in your basement anyway? What's the story behind this?
Bugbear is monstrous humanoid. I don't think that was.
No, they're your human.
Oh, yeah, it's on the list. Yeah. Okay.
They're just human.
Let's see. You'd gain a smite evil. Would it be worth having 3 level adjustment? Probably not.
Not really.
No. Yeah, you don't even get a DR.
Nope.
Yeah.
You do eventually, based on hit dice.
Yeah. When you get to higher.
Your
It's
DR
also-
and your energy resistances go up.
Granted, this is DR magic, which means any magical weapon.
Oh yeah,
that becomes
anything you're realistically fighting bypass it. Besides, like when you start
Yeah.
with
When
your
you
3
start-
hit dice.
There's a decent amount of stuff that won't for quite a while, but after a certain point, yeah, it will. And also, if there's a certain point, everything you run around with like fucking +1 weapons because it's not really going to matter economically.
Yep.
But yeah, it's actually just templates in general are actually just kind of a neat way of severely expanding the roster of available creatures and or just theming things for your campaign. I'm very much a fan of the idea.
Yeah, the template's great.
Yeah, I don't remember whether they've actually carried on to newer editions, but there are just a neat tool that I think more games should actually look at, because it is a good way of just adding variety.
Make your party fight an evil version of some random normal thing?
Yep.
Throw a fiendish template.
Exactly. Speaking of fiends, or rather, demons.
Come on.
Yep, the hordes of the abyss. They all look vaguely animalistic except for the succubus, who, notably, this is the last time she's a demon. 4th edition, they moved her to devil, and in 5th edition, it's now
If they're not
a
a generic
agent.
evil outsider.
Yeah. All demons in this book are Tanari. Ten-Ari. You can see the subtype down there. That's the dominant subset of demons in the Abyss. There are actually other subsets, and there's more flavor to that. However, that name... Huh?
Clip off. So there's an entire book that covers...
Yeah, that's an entire book. We'll go over when we go over that book. Of note, Tanari, as a word, dates back to the TSR era. Basically, they changed all the demons, devils, etc. From being demons, devils, to being Tanari, Betazu, etc., as a way of just trying to dodge the complete morons during the Satanic Panic.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I really do like the way, at the very least, Tanari has been reused and redefined in this edition as a subtype.
It is also an extra set of demons, or Tanari-style demon-specific rules that are added onto all of them, in addition to the standard outsider rules.
Yeah. And that's where they get their immunities and resistances, and demons and devils basically share... both of them share the ability to summon other demons/devils. They both kind of work the same way in that respect. This is very independent to each individual demon or devil, respectively.
It'll usually be a percentage chance to summon something. Could be others of the same type, could be lesser demons or devils, etc.
Yeah. Player characters encounter them quite often because they are very easy enemies to just straight up throw at people, because it's a demon, and you know you're supposed to kill it because it's a fucking demon.
It's a demon. Yep.
And cosmology-wise, they have very much a lot of interest in the mortal plane because they need souls for the Blood War, which they get the old-fashioned way, just taking them as much as they can, and or through contracts. But mostly just punching people until they give them their soul.
Contracts aren't so much the demon thing.
No, contracts is the devil thing. Okay, so what happened is I skipped from one set of notes to another. It's like, wait, contracts? Wait, that doesn't sound right. But yeah, these are some of the most overt bad guys you can have in a setting. Speaking of other overt bad guys you can have in a setting, the Tyrants of the Nine Hells. Yep.
None of these are Tyrants of the Nine.
No, these are actually the Tyrants of the Nine Hells. I'm just foreshadowing, shut up.
The closest we get is a Balor. Or sorry, that's a Pit Fiend.
Pit Fiend, yes.
Oh, no, that's Pit Fiend.
Yeah, Balor is over here.
Yeah, that was right. The closest we get is a Pit Fiend, because Balor is a Pit Fiend.
Yeah. And yeah, demons have a much more classic infernal look, except for the Ice Devil, who is insectoid for some reason. Yeah.
Well, and the Lemur, which is a pile of shit.
Yes, but it's also the lowest ranked thing, so that kind of makes sense.
Yep.
Of note, both demons and devils, in another kind of weird parallel, start basically as their lowest ranked thing and slowly move their way up. Hypothetically. Or don't. Or sometimes move their way down.
It depends who you piss off.
Depends on who you piss off. Depends on how actually good you are at your job, so to speak. Devils is more about intrigue and cleverness. Demons is more about punching people.
Enough.
Yeah, being powerful enough.
You are bad at your job, which in the underworld is good.
And still not pissing the wrong people off.
Yes. Not pissing off even more powerful, staying unnoticed by more powerful demons while punching less powerful ones until you get more power.
Yep.
But yeah, the devils themselves are more generally the intrigue style villains. Not that you won't immediately fight them when you see them because, it's a fucking devil. They also need souls from the mortal plane, but they tend to do it through either contracts or just, good old-fashioned corruption of mortals. Because, basically, souls go to whatever plane they're most aligned with when they die, so the other way of them getting souls is to just make more lawful evil people. Who just deserve to go to hell.
I mean, if it works, it works.
And again, they have their own dedicated book, so we'll talk about them more when we get to that. Let's see. Next is dinosaurs. If your fantasy RPG... Yep, if your fantasy RPG doesn't have dinosaurs, your fantasy RPG is objectively wrong. Why do you hate fun?
True.
Dire animals.
Regular animals, but with spikes.
Strangely enough, there's not actually much spikes on that artwork. I think that is mostly just a D&D minis thing. But yes, dire animal.
Is the dire bear the only dire animal they have in there? Because the other ones definitely still have spikes.
Yeah. That was the only one
can't
with art in
stand
here,
other
so
one's
yeah.
back.
That's true too. But yeah. What if you're in a wilderness setting and just want to throw a generic animal at them, but they're already at too high a level for that to actually be a challenge? Dire animals! Exactly. Also, come up with something else. Seriously.
Alright, celestial dire animals.
Fine, I'll pull up the giant spiders.
You guys can have giant spiders as a treat.
Okay, so these also have their own book.
These do also have their own book.
That they do.
Yep, dragons. Literally half the title of this game. Not counting the end. But we'll still go over them in brief. This is also a good time to talk about natural attacks. Because, God, do they have a lot of them. Yeah,
yes.
In general, dragons are divided into age categories. How long they've been around. The older, the more powerful. But in any case, creatures will all have natural attacks. Generally, these are divided into primary and secondary natural attacks, where primary is just normal attack and damage bonus, and secondary is -5 to attack and half strength damage. This doesn't matter for player characters except when it absolutely fucking does, because they're doing weird shit. As far as that's concerned, when players are doing weird shit, it's generally pick one thing to be a primary attack, and all of those are going to be a primary. You can tell I've done this a lot on characters, by the way. But in general, what it translates to is, dragons get a shit ton of attacks whenever they make a full round attack for some reason. They almost never do because they almost never need to, but if they just decide to get stuck into combat, they're going to murder someone.
I mean, they aren't busy breath weaponing or just casting high level spells.
Yes, or flying around. They could be lower level dragons as well. Those are more likely to get stuck in because breath weapons have a bit of a cooldown, and I don't know, you caught them in a fucking cave of 5-foot stilling. You tied them to the ground before they noticed. Dragons are the CR in this game is very loose, or challenge rating in this game is very loose and fast for trying to figure out how difficult things are actually going to be, and generally it tends to be, if anything, an overcon, so you could throw more challenge rating than normal at players. Dragons are a notable exception. Dragons are a massive undercon almost always.
Yeah.
Like low age category dragons aren't too bad, just because there's not a lot of difference between CR2 and CR3 and CR4, really.
No.
But once you get into the mid-age categories, the high-age categories, dragons are party wipers.
Especially if they are run more and more intelligently, where they do stuff like, fly around and breathe on people, and sure hope you have...
if you don't run a dragon to its actual stats and just make them like a bruiser, they'll beat the shit out of people, but aren't too unmanageable. If you play a dragon like the absurd intelligence they have,
yeah, they're going to just ruin the party. But yeah,
does not take long for them to stat wise just outstrip the party.
yeah. But yeah, as we've kind of alluded to, dragons got breath weapons. Their breath weapons always do a shit ton of damage, even if you save versus them. As they get higher in level, they also, some of them get spell resistance and some don't, apparently. They all, however, also have one, or have a couple of notable enough weaknesses, or a few of them. One, their dex is always 10.
Dex is always 10.
This is an exploitable thing if you here and there. Most notably, I believe there was a spell you could maximize that would give whatever you hit a -10 to its dex.
No, there's a spell that does 3d6 dex damage.
Oh, okay.
Which means on average it bottoms out dragons. On maximized, it definitely bottoms out dragons.
Also because of this, dragons have a massive AC, but all of it is from a natural armor bonus, which means their touch AC is always going to be 10, literally the minimum. It is very easy to hit them with touch. And so dragons have an elemental subtype. This is only real, which means that the ones that have a fire elemental subtype and cold elemental subtype are weak to the opposite, because that's how that subtype works.
Yep.
This is not explained under dragons.
No,
at all.
This is part of the immunity to cold and the immunity to fire ability.
Yeah. I do not believe any of those actually have vulnerability written into that, but it is just part of those abilities.
Correct.
All right. But yeah, going somewhat quickly through the dragons. Black. Swamp dwelling ambushers, they breathe acid.
Yep.
Blue. Desert predators, most likely to work with others. Lightning.
Kick-ass boss team.
Yep. Green.
Yes.
Forest predators, also acid. And red. The classic and most powerful evil dragons. Mountain-dwelling arrogant assholes who believe they are the most perfectest dragon that has ever existed. Each individually, not as red dragons as a collective.
not as dragons as a general thing, they themselves.
Yes. And finally, to round out the category, I forgot to mention, because these are the chromatic dragons, which are the evil dragons. White, the weakest and most animalistic of dragons.
Cold.
Yes, cold. And of course, as their counterparts are the chromatic dragons. Or
metallic.
Metallic dragons. Thank you.
They were the chromatic dragons.
Yes. Brass. Talkative desert dragons, most likely for a party to encounter. They breathe fire and sleep. Notably, metallic dragons have two different breath weapons, one that is an element and the other which is a status condition.
In case your party got any bright ideas to attack a good dragon.
Yeah. Attacking good dragons is ill-advised for several reasons. Not the least of which, it's a fucking dragon.
I can say it's still a dragon.
A, it's a dragon. B, it's a dragon that isn't picking a fight with you. You should basically be thankful for that.
Oh, doesn't think I'm strong enough to fight it, eh? I'll teach it. Ugh, I got taught a lesson.
Yes. Bronze. Coastal dwellers like to morph into they like animals and they like to morph into animals. It should be noted, all the metallic dragons also are shape changers. Not literally the shape changer subtype, but they all have the ability to change into one form or another.
Dummy humans are less likely to try to pick a fight with them if they're an animal or a person than if they're a dragon.
Silver dragons love changing into office furniture. Don't
Exactly.
ask why.
Ew.
Yeah. Let's see.
Form of a chair.
Yep. Copper dragons. Hill-dwelling, good-natured pranksters and riddlers. They breathe acid and slow. Alright, bronze dragons believe electric and run away. It literally just makes you run away. They didn't actually... They didn't even use fear as a status condition for it for some reason, even though they actually have one of those. Let's see. Gold. Strongest of all dragons stat-wise and challenge rating-wise. They crusade for good. They live anywhere. Prefer stone or natural structures, so mountains or castles, basically. They breathe fire and strength damage.
Yep.
Silver. Cheerful and helpful dragons that prefer their human form, live in high places, bringing them often into conflict with red dragons, which they are more or less at the same power level as red dragons.
Yeah.
They breathe cold and paralysis, which is cold and you just lost.
Yes.
Pretty much.
All right. Done with them for the moment. Okay, so also in this book is the actual sub-races for the basic classes, or the basic races in the base book. Your mileage varies a lot when it comes to how useful these actually are. As far as dwarves are concerned, you got deep dwarves, which are slightly better bonuses for light sensitivity.
Yep.
And Dwargar, which comes with a mile of baggage. You could probably get away with it, but at the same time, it's +1. Let's see, you get +1 for your +1 level adjustment. You get
the ability to grow large ones per day.
yeah,
And invisible. That's it. That's pretty much it. That's the
yeah,
deal.
yeah.
They're evil dwarves that have the ability to grow large and turn them.
Yeah, they can't all be winners. All right.
Eladrin.
Yep, Eladrin. The chaotic good outsiders of Arborea. That's the extent of my notes on them. It's not like this book is too interested in them itself either. They give you a good description of what each of these creatures are, and to some extent, like the brief snippet of, yeah, this is where they're from. But
Yep.
again, how often are you even going to meet these in a campaign? You are much more likely, as far as good creatures are concerned, to interact with dragons, quite frankly. Because the metallic dragons are legitimately A, in the world, and B, actually have traits and interests and stuff.
Yep.
You're not likely to fight them, but they make decent NPCs in a campaign. And that happens actually quite a bit in modules now that I think about it. And occasionally you get to play card games with them.
Oh, look, an ethereal Fincher.
Yep.
I'm ignoring the left page.
I mean, this here for the elves, actually, but yes, there's the ethereal Fincher. But yeah, the elf variants. Let's see. Most notably is the gray elves, because it actually gives you an intelligence bonus for fucking once.
Cost of strength, so you really don't care.
You really don't care. It is notable that this is in addition to the high elf traits, so it also has the dex traded out for con. So that is a little bit painful, but you can compensate for that.
But hey, you'll gladly give up strength for int as a wizard.
Yes.
Because that's what you're being if you're playing a gray elf.
Yep. Thus actually making you play an elf and not feel like, why the hell did I do this? And not human. Let's see. Other than that,
A wild elf, which gets dex and the cost of intelligence.
but that's
aquatic elf that actually has different stats. And the ability to swim, like, breathe underwater.
gills.
Speed.
Yeah, it is distinctly not really runnable in campaign because it survives out of water for, let's see, 1 hour per point of constitution.
You just have to bathe every day.
Depends what your constitution is. Yeah, twice a day.
Yeah, at least you're not taking a penalty to constitution.
That's true. You're not taking a penalty to constitution. It's again, you could also just be a no. What elf doesn't? No. Yeah, you could be a wild elf. There we go. Which is the same stat adjustment. Yeah. I mean, it's great if you're in like a underwater or seaside campaign of some sort, I guess.
Well, it's not. No, the wood elf does. Or the wild elf does replace. The wood elf doesn't.
Yeah.
And then drow. Drow are there.
Yes, drow are technically there. Drow are very similar to Dwargar in the sense that, yeah, they get more abilities. It's not terrible, but it's not worth 2 levels.
But I want to be Drek.
I mean, you can if you want to, but
I want to be a unique chaotic dual wielding Drow Ranger.
yes.
Not only is that not unique, that joke is not unique.
No, it is not. But yes, for people who are clueless, Drow are a race almost entirely composed of chaotic good rebels who wield 2 swords and
Alternatively, actual Drow, a bunch of evil matrix.
yes, evil matriarchal spiders obsessed society. In this edition,
How many spiders can you fit in that orifice? Let's find out.
Please no. Not again.
What's that? You want to be half spider? We can do that.
Please no, not again.
ghosts, one of our sample undead, and one of the few that's not all or is not almost all evil. Basically, undead are cosmology-wise, undead in 3.5 are made entirely from negative energy, and negative energy is evil because it's evilness. Don't think about it too much. They certainly didn't. Undead, by the way, also have their own book, so...
Yep.
And as far as ghosts are concerned, yep, this is 2 annoying subtypes added together, because you have both undead and incorporeal.
Yeah. It's actually also a template.
Yes, it's actually also a template.
No, the stat block there is actually just a human fighter with the ghost on.
Yep. Bithel human fighter. But yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, again, templates are kind of neat, and it's especially neat for ghosts because you have a ghost literally practically anything, I think. Yeah. You have a ghost plant.
Yep.
You have a ghost assassin vine.
Huh? You can't have a ghost assassin vine. Maybe. I don't know if they have charisma 6.
Almost certainly not.
It's a weird requirement.
It is a weird requirement. My off-drive PDF is busy loading. But yeah. And I mean, Ghost is also like a fairly classic one. There, it loaded. Oh, the Charisma's 9. You could absolutely have a Ghost Assassin Vine.
Fair enough. Ghost Vine.
Yep.
But yeah, Ghost you can apply to anything. So
yeah.
You can have good ghosts, you can have bad ghosts.
You can also just have
anything.
Yeah, you can also just have ghosts without actually worrying about throwing a template onto something, to be completely honest, if it's just there to be an NPC and not something they fight.
Never count the players out on attacking things they're supposed to.
That's true too. On the bright side, if it's a low level enough campaign, you can just look at them funny and go like, your weapons pass through. You don't have magical weapons, guys. It doesn't do anything. Granted, they're spellcasters.
They don't have to be spellcasters. They can be spellcasters.
No. I mean, spellcasters can still.
Oh, like spellcasters can still. It's like magic missile works perfectly fine. Ghosts and a level 1 spell.
Yeah.
It's a bread and butter spell.
Yep.
Yeah. Wait. There we go. Okay. Yeah, moving on. Giants. D&D actually has its own unique collection of giants. They don't have their own book, however, so...
Nope.
You're fairly likely to see evil ones that are more than a few that are built, are more than a few modules that are actually built around them. I think Fire and Frost tend to be like their own antagonist factions in of themselves. Hill Giants are brutes you can throw in to anything just to make it more challenging, basically.
If you want a big bludgeoner type of thing, throw a Hill Giant at the party.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Yeah, even the go-to-line ones have the advantage of, yeah, they're just on this plane, so if you happen to run across one, they can be an interesting NPC without actually having to worry too much about, like, why the hell is an angel here? Because there's a large explanation when it comes to, like, angels and archons and whatnot, all the celestials, basically, too. Like, why are they here? What are they doing? It's like, as far as the Giant's concerned, it fucking lives here.
The Hound Archon's just on vacation, man. They get time off too.
What is it doing here? None of your business, Morty.
Trying to
I
get
can
a
call you
breakfast
Morty, right?
burrito.
It's not offensive, right?
You know how hard it is to get a breakfast burrito in a fantasy world they haven't invented burritos?
Oh, how hard it is to
Why,
get a.
why did I come here?
Do you know how hard it is to invent or to find a breakfast burrito in a setting that hasn't developed breakfast?
I imagine most things adult.
I'm pretty sure they develop breakfast. They have halflings, which are
Oh,
certainly
point.
not hoblets.
I think a fairly standard thing would be most races don't immediately wake up and go, I don't feel like eating for 6 hours.
Yeah. But any case, run through these guys real fast. Cloud Giants, they're basically good or evil aligned. Mountain Dwellers, the good ones trade, the evil ones raid for stuff. Fire Giants, brutal, hot place dwelling militarists. They make for a good raiding horde, really. Frost Giants, cold region raiders also make for a good raiding horde for basically the same reason. Fire is lawful.
Fire's lawful.
This page. Yeah, fire is lawful. Frost is chaotic. They're both evil. Hill Giants, classic dumb people-eating brutes, basically. Again, very easy to just throw in with any encounter because it's like, oh, the evil bad guy hired a Hill Giant, he like offered him some cattle or something.
Hill Giant having little else to do is cool with this.
Yeah. Stone Giants, shy, artistic mountain dwellers who love to playfully throw rocks at each other. Bean Giants, this is a hazard in general for everyone around, but you know. And Storm Giants are good-natured, musically inclined recluses who who build their castles either at the tops of peaks or underwater outright. Not the easiest things to run into, but, like, I don't know. You have to go and ask them something. It can make for a neat quest, I guess. Let's see.
Gith.
Yep, the Gith. Who come up a lot for, just kind of being there, but, yeah, they... Gith Yankee and to the lesser extent Gith's area are, very much the extra planner races. Basically, if you're traveling around planes or between them, they're very likely for you to run into. They are also incredibly not runnable in this edition. In the sense of, like, let's see, what do we get for 2 level adjustments here?
Not much.
No. Yeah, special quality psionics, which isn't actually psionics in this book, but don't worry about it. Spell resistance.
ability.
Yeah. It's like,
So, I want to say that since Baldur's Gate, all of the major Dungeons and Dragons RPGs that have come out electronically have either directly revolved around the Githyanki, or the Githyanki have a special connection to the plot in some way and appear in like a major form.
it makes a
They
lot
are
of...
very heavily involved.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense for Baldur's Gate 3. So basically, the Gith were originally a slave race of the Illithids. They broke free. It's also why they're psionic, because they were developed by the Illithids to be a slave race. But they broke free, and then after that broke off into 2 different factions. The Githyanki, which are militant assholes, and the Githzeri, which are reclusive monks. Very loosely.
Yep.
Also, pray to God, whatever gods you are currently praying to at the time, given D&D, that you do not touch, jostle, or otherwise bear witness to the silver sword of a Githyanki. He goes, "Who dog?" They take their silver swords very seriously, as in starting wars with entire peoples, razing villages to the ground just to get a silver sword back.
It's just a +1 silvered greatsword.
You'd be surprised how many times this is a plot element in a
I was gonna say,
I know, but
yeah, you playing Neverwinter Nights 2, the base campaign, you'd be very surprised how far they're willing to go for that sword, or that +1 silver greatsword.
Knowles.
Notable assassin.
Yes, notable assassin.
Hater of houses.
Current campaigns aside. Yeah. Knowles, yet another one of the classic evil raiding monster races. Their uniqueness is very, very hyena themed, you know, fucking obviously. These are as hyena furry as you get. General idea is they are a ravaging horde that just devours everything and keeps moving on. And also the creation of a demon, but not actually, or creation of a demon prince, but not actually demons themselves, because don't ask questions.
Is that requirement to give it?
Yes.
Also, just because a demon makes you doesn't mean that you have to be a demon yourself.
Not per se, but it's just I don't know. I think it's just a weird way of gain around technicalities.
That's fair.
Plus, if you made your race you want to go cause trouble on the mortal plane as a demon, that really limits what its ability to cause trouble on the mortal plane is. Instead, you make a bunch of mortals on the mortal plane that can breed and sustain their own life, and have them wreak havoc.
Breed or explode out of hyenas, I'm not exactly sure.
I don't think 3.5 has the exploding of hyenas. I think that came later.
But yeah, their special patron is the Demon Lord Yanogu, who looks like a gaunt gnoll. Most gnolls serve rare Yanogu rather than worshipping a deity. Though no clerics notably usually worship Earthful deity of slaughter, which is a direct confrontation of what you just fucking said.
I mean, things besides clerics are capable of worship.
I know. It's just that, clerics are entirely capable of getting power from worshipping demon princes.
They are, but the book isn't here that has all the domains for the demon princes.
Yeah, I know. Gnomes! No picture needed. They're gnomes.
We've already seen it in the player handbook.
Yes. But yes, there's forest gnomes who were not interesting enough to actually put on this page. Literally, the only ones really worth talking about are the
Zverfedlin?
Zverfedlin. Yes, that. Partially because I can't pronounce it and I thought it'd be funny. And partially because this is yet another big... Why does it have 3-level adjustment? God.
3-level adjustment.
Now, this has legitimately powerful abilities to go with it. Like, you know that dodge bonus that was to giants and stuff. No, this is just all creatures.
Yeah, I guess just a bonus on saving throws, period.
Yeah, +1 difficulty, all saves from illusion spells that they cast.
Yeah, +4 dodge bonus against everything.
Spell
blindness, deafness once per day. Blast, disguise self once per day. Or blur, disguise self once per day.
Spell resistance 11 plus class levels.
Continuous non-detection.
Yeah. Stone cutting. Okay, that's useless.
It's not really great for a player character to eat a 3-level loss to play this, but it's there.
It's there. They could make for interesting NPCs. Deep gnomes, by the way, is the more pronounceable way or name for them.
Yep.
But yeah, basically deep underground gnomes. That's about the extent of it. Again, really built not to be player characters, which is something I kind of dislike with a lot of the sub races that did not need to be this far built out, and yet way going overboard for the level adjustment at the same time somehow. Goblins. The second in the goblin goblinoid line of goblins. You get the point. If you have encountered fantasy literature of any sort, chances are you know what the fuck a goblin is. This is pretty much that.
Yeah, pigmen.
Okay, so
No, those are
sorry,
orcs.
That's orcs. Go ahead.
I was gonna ask. I know that goblins existed before this. Like D&D is pulling inspiration from all sorts of like real world mythology and stuff.
Goblin. This is straight up pulling for Tolkien.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, is D&D the origin of what we consider like the modern fantasy goblin, or
No.
not necessarily?
As far as like halflings, orcs, and goblins are concerned, those are all pulling from Tolkien at the very least.
Well, I knew halflings and orcs, but goblins generally didn't show up in the Lord of the Rings, as far as I remember.
No, it
they're
showed up in The Hobbit.
Ah, right.
Yeah, they're the antagonists in The Hobbit.
Ah, okay.
And granted, what a goblin actually is in Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and Middle Earth basically is open to interpretation to some extent.
Yeah, sure.
Generally they consider an offshoot of orcs anyways. But yeah.
Goblins do predate Tolkien by quite a bit. But
They also do predate Tolkien by quite a bit.
Yeah.
they're really just like European folklore that Tolkien turned into a monster.
Yeah. But yeah, generally the goblins here basically obey most of the stereotypes, i.e. small, cowardly, tends to be beaten up by low-level characters. Exists to be fodder, let's be honest.
Yep.
Of note, the 3 goblinoids also go across the 3 evil alignments, where the bugbears are chaotic evil, the goblins are neutral evil, and the hobgoblins are lawful evil. Let's see. Where's my mouse? There's my mouse. Okay. Golems! Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I do personally like that in modern day we've kind of moved away from having the goblins just be like the natural evil thing, and goblins, partially in response to say things like World of Warcraft and stuff, have turned into more of a like actual, non-stereotype.
Okay.
You see good goblins more, or you see like goblins as being positive rather than just we live in the mud and we hit things with sticks.
World of Warcraft is a terrible example for this because quite literally, almost every race they have put on the Horde is, this is an evil race, but we're not bad guys, we swear.
Yes, but those goblins at least like articulate and talk and participate in like politics.
Yes, they're not idiots. They're still fairly evil and greedy.
That's not true. All the undead are shitty or shitters.
Yes.
Sure.
I wouldn't go outright evil for Warcraft goblins. They are absolutely greedy.
Yes.
But they're more greedy opportunists than anything, and inventors.
They're the next generation Ferengi.
They're just, we wanted to tinker a race for the Horde side, so we made goblins.
Yes.
The counterpoint.
Yeah, the encounter.
Though, to be fair, goblins existed in Warcraft prior to that.
But then they made it a player.
Yeah.
Or player race.
But yes, golems. They exist to frustrate your players. They really just exist to frustrate your players.
What do you mean I can't crit attack this? What do you mean I can't sneak attack this?
What do you mean you
This
can't
is
hit
bullshit.
with a spell?
Yeah, what do you mean you can't hit it with any spell that has... Yeah, they basically have spell resistance infinity.
Yep.
Any spell that has spell resistance.
Yeah. It is... Okay, so... I do like how interesting that their immunity to magic actually is. In the sense that, like, you hit X Golem with Y spell and it has a completely different effect. That is kind of neat. But the just blanket immunity to a good deal of spells is actually kind of annoying. Especially when you take into account, oh yeah, it also has DR/adamantite, so if you're not carrying around an adamantite weapon, yeah.
It depends on the golem.
It depends on the golem. But I think like even the flesh one has adamantite.
Generally, anytime you introduce a creature that is, your class, you don't get to play.
And also the Flash Golems, DR5, whatever.
Yeah, DR5 isn't as
It's great for
bad.
that. Or have a high enough plus that you ignore adamantite, because that's also a thing.
No, it is not. That's Pathfinder thing.
Oh, it's Pathfinder.
Yeah. Let's see. Clay Golems is DR10 adamantite and bludgeoning.
Well, they're the clay. So.
Yeah. Iron Golems are 15 adamantite. Ow.
Oh, they're Iron Golems.
Yeah.
I mean, some things need to be scary. Not everything can be a pushover.
No, this is true. And stone is 10 adamantite. Okay. No, they are very much on the extreme ends of defense. If you want something that your player characters are not going to kill in one round, there's a good chance that a golem is going to stay standing. Simply because, okay, so depending on how good the spellcaster is at actually playing the spellcaster, can mess with your golem a little bit. Because note that one thing: the immunity to magic isn't actually immunity to magic; it's immunity to anything that allows spell resistance. There are spells that don't allow spell resistance.
Yep.
And a spellcaster that knows what he's doing will at least carry some of those around in his kit, especially at higher levels.
Also, it doesn't preclude you doing casting spells that don't, directly affect the golem. Like, you could cast a pit under a golem. Spell immunity doesn't matter jack to that.
Sure.
Which makes them a great and interesting challenge for your spellcasters, and your melees have to hit things, but that's generally what your melees are doing anyways. That's more a generic problem with the game.
Every enemy that melees run in.
Yeah, it's like
how do I solve this? I have a sword.
I have a hammer. I hope we're fighting nails.
my swinging arm still works. Let's get this done.
Now, granted, because their DR is unlikely to be something you're actually able to overcome yourself, this is one of the few that actually benefits like the heavy hitting two-handers a lot more than the guy who's throwing a billion fucking attacks.
Yes. Bigger single hits, dudes work better. This is a place where the two-hander beats out a bow user.
Yes.
Unless they've adamantite arrows.
Unless they got a bunch of adamantite arrows, yeah. Or an adamantite bow, because I think that works.
I don't think
bows
can be made of adamantite, but no, they don't put their physical properties in arrows.
Okay.
You can have a magical bow, and that applies to all the arrows it fires, but
that's right. The magical effects will apply, but not actually the
magical effects apply to the arrow.
Yeah.
But the bow construction does not apply to it.
Yeah.
Also, I'm pretty sure an adamantite bow just straight wouldn't work.
It just requires a lot of strength.
The whole point of adamantite is it's not very pliable.
Well, Cardinals. The neutral good outsiders of Elysium.
Yep.
It's a
plant
petting
place.
zoo.
Or not the plant place, the animal place.
Yep. Which I initially thought, wait, wouldn't that be chaotic? But it's like, oh no, wait, no. Nature tends to be neutral aligned.
Yep.
And yeah, Cardinals tend to be animalistic and how they look, Aaron theme. Hence you got bird guy and lion guy.
Yep.
The half templates. These actually do come up a lot because unlike these are actually tend to be the more worthwhile templates.
So you have half celestial and half fiend, which are effectively just the boosted versions of celestial and fiendish templates.
Yeah.
Half dragon is also in here.
Yes, half dragon is in.
Up with everything that exists.
Yep. Level adjustments on these are actually pretty modest and decent bonuses. Really good bonuses, actually, generally for what you get.
Yeah, like if you want to be a half dragon, which I want to say is like a 3 or a 4, you get
I think there's also half
plus
dragon. It's a 3.
Strength.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 plus 8 strength, plus 2 to a couple other stats, 4 natural armor.
Yeah, 8 strength, 2 con, 2 int, 2 charisma, 4 natural armor. You get a breath weapon. That scales with your level.
Energy resist.
Yeah, it's like it costs you 3 levels, but
And the half fiend and half celestial are probably stronger templates because they also come with the entirety of the benefits that being an outsider has, and an actual outsider, not an outsider native. So, or they still remain outsider native.
let's see. Time changes to outsider.
Oh, yeah, just straight outsider.
Yeah.
So like no need to breathe, eat, or sleep.
Half fiends are normally native outsiders, actually. So
half fiends are
yeah. I mean, on the bright side, you can be resurrected.
That is true. You can't be resurrected. Still, also, you get wings, form. Yeah. You get a small amount of natural armor for being a half fiend. You get claws. Spell like abilities based on your hit die.
Yeah. But yeah, in general, it's a way of spicing up antagonists.
Yep.
Can also be used by players, and again, if you're limited to these 3 books and trying really hard to make a martial that actually functions, you could do worse.
I think half celestial is just straight better than half fiend.
Probably, especially since you're most likely going to be fighting evil things because that's just kind of how campaigns work.
But what if I want to be a half fiend drow chaotic good wielding?
I mean, you can.
Stop that.
Right, halflings. Included here because I include the other races, sub-races, but...
I love that halflings get art, but gnomes don't.
Gnomes get... I'm pretty sure gnomes get art. Everything in this book gets art. It's just that the gnome art was, like, on a previous...
The gnome art was, you've seen gnomes before, and it's not on the page with the other gnome that is of any interest.
Yeah. It's not of the Smurfethalin, which was the only one really worth talking about. But yeah, like here's the gnome art.
Okay. Yeah.
There's the gnome art. There's nothing else to the page. I probably should have done a double page with it, but
that's okay. Here's the halflings. They have 2 other sub-races. No one gives a shit. Move it.
Yeah. Now the bright side is they don't have a subrace that is like not worth it. But at the same time, they also don't have a subrace that's interesting in any capacity. So yeah, moving on. Hobgoblins, the third of the Goblinoid trilogy,
and also the hippogriff on the other page,
and also that hippogriff on the other page, partially covered with hobgoblins as characters, just so you can see. No, it's not worth writing a hobgoblin as a character either. +1 level adjustment for like +2 to 2 stats, and
a +4 move silent.
Yeah, which
that's it.
Yeah, like honestly, you could take the level adjustment off. This would be fine. Like it's still not as good as human.
No, everything needs penalties.
Yeah.
If you don't want penalties, you need level adjustment.
Yeah. And granted, this is I would like to say this is their first pass at this game, but it actually isn't because this is 3.5. So they learned some things, because like this book fixes a lot of the basically 3.0 had real problems when in the monster manual when it came to DR. In general, if you did not have the precise one, DR magic wasn't a thing. It was DR +1 or +2 or +3, etc. So if you didn't have a high enough enchanted weapon or the right material to overcome DR, the DR numbers were also just way higher. So there was a very good chance that if the party was not carrying around the right weapon at the right time, they would just lose versus whatever you randomly threw at them, and you didn't realize it. That is one of the major fixes of monsters between 3.0 and 3.5, basically. But at the same time, like, they didn't really learn much when it came to, like, level adjustment and what's actually, like, much of anything, quite frankly. I don't know. At the same time, this was like the early era of the internet, so I think there was just less analysis in general when it came and optimization. Also, less thinking about RPGs in that respect, anyways, probably as well. I don't know. I'm throwing things at the wall at this point.
That was Wizards of the Coast.
Huh?
That's
So
so
was
much
Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah, that's true. And granted, that was kind of the design ethos of this edition.
Yeah.
Inevitables. Inevitables, I do like in and of itself as a concept. These are lawful, neutral, outsiders basically for Mechanicus, or not Mechanicus, Mechanus.
Yep.
Their job is to, if you've broken a universal law of one sort or another, they will track you down and punish you. That's their entire job.
Yep.
They are actually kind of neat. And strange. Unfortunately, they also remind me that Modrons aren't in this edition, and it makes me sad. But yeah. Kobold!
Come on.
That looks suspiciously like a null when the Japanese get a hold of it for some reason.
Yeah, he's a little dragon guy. I'm technically a little humanoid reptilian, but now dragon in 5th edition.
Yes, in 5th edition, they are finally actually just dragon type, because that no longer... Them being a dragon type in this edition would be horrifying. It's like, oh, here's your low-level challenge enemy. Wait, what does dragon type come up again?
Not that much, actually.
Yeah.
Not that much, unless you have natural hit dice, because all your natural hit dice become D12.
That's true. Yeah, your natural hit dice are all... Yeah, it have an above average amount of hit points for its level, maybe.
I mean, it wouldn't change anything on kobolds. They don't have natural hit dice.
Yeah, they don't have natural hit dice. That's a good question, actually. They'd have better saves, I think. No, because that's just the hit dice as well.
Yes, that'd be outdated hit dice. It really wouldn't affect kobolds much because they don't need to for their immune to magical effects.
They're
They
immune to
get
magical
immunity
sleep
that
and paralysis.
largely don't matter.
Yeah. It would give them immunity to magical sleep and paralysis, and that's the only thing relevant, basically, if they were dragon subtype. They'd also be immune to, like, 3 spells that you would never count. Yeah. Yes, you cannot charm person the kobold that you were probably just going to whack with a stick. It's a kobold.
Play a kobold as a character as well. You won't, but you can.
Absolutely can play a character as a kobold. Did I? Oh, I didn't even put... Oh, no, there's their stat block up there. Yeah. Hey, how about we build things that are actively worse than basic player character options?
Yeah, penalties to con and a -4 to strength for the great +2 dex.
Yep.
You get +1 natural armor. That's worth it, right?
And you're small size. This is probably one of a few races that you could almost argue, like, okay, I have like a level adjustment -1.
Can I get an extra class level for playing this?
It's not quite that bad. Also,
I want to be a kobold. I want to be a kobold marshal. Can I get an extra class level to play this?
Yeah, go
So-
nuts.
Regarding your comment about the Japanese making them dog creatures,
Mhm.
so that stereotype that they do in Japanese media is based off of the fantasy novel for Record of Lodoss War.
Yeah.
Which is based off an early version of Dungeons and Dragons. So D&D's to blame for that.
Indirectly, them play... I don't know why they... Basically, they mixed up Kobold and Null for whatever reason. In that one. But early versions of D&D, I'm pretty sure... I would have to double check, but I'm pretty sure Kobolds are still the Dragonoid things, and Nulls are still Nulls.
I'll look up in a minute. I'm pouring water right now.
Yeah. But yeah, I know it comes from like a Record of Lodoss Wars. Which is a D&D campaign, sort of.
I mean, it's a D&D campaign, yeah.
Yeah. Granted, this was also by people who didn't completely know English, and it was at an older time where getting a hold of, like, a D20 was basically goddamn impossible. So, they tend to substitute D6s. Which tends to reflect in modern Japanese RPG design. But yeah, as for kobolds themselves,
In the In the original Dungeons and Dragons, kobolds were depicted as small, evil, dog-like humanoids, similar to goblins but weaker.
Huh, okay, fair enough. Granted, record of lowest or sentences depict as human size, but well. At least when it came to the anime, so that's even weirder. But yeah, modern kobolds very much like small lizard things, basically.
Yeah.
They will come up later in a future book because I'm apparently saying that a lot, so I might as well say that now.
They will also have stuff in the Draconomicon. We get around to getting the Draconomicon.
They have stuff in Races of the Dragons, actually.
Oh, they have Race of Dragon too. Fair enough.
Yeah. Right. Liches! Always a classic.
Undead dude.
Yep. There is technically creating a Lich here. This is not a player character thing at all. No sane DM is going to let their player character play as a Lich. Mostly because, you can't actually kill a Lich very easily if they're smart with their
Gotta get its phylactery and break it.
Yeah. But yes, this is basically an undead spellcaster that figured out how to, like, move his soul to this object over here, so if his body is ever killed, he just respawns.
Yep.
Because spellcasters are cheaty bitches.
No, this is the evil version of doing that, as opposed to using magic to just make yourself an extra body that you can go to when you die.
Yes, you could do that too. You're also an immortal undead, but again, this is evil magic, or because it's undead, this is evil magic by the nature of it being undead, and you kind of get the point now.
Note to self: come up with evil baker who uses baking magic and stores things in phylacteries.
Phylacteries.
He's on a time limit because somebody has to eat the pie and then he reincarnates into their body, but then they start dying. So he has to continually make pies and then fool people into eating them.
Also, never forget that because they decide to make undead undead fueled by negative energy and thus inherently evil by their logic, even though the negative energy plane is actually evil. This also means that when they eventually decide, oh yeah, we actually want good undead too, they basically just made undead, filed the serial numbers off of it, and slapped the good on it.
Yeah, they call them deathless.
Yep.
We will get to them later.
Also, I'm fairly certain the evil undead thing is a druid propaganda thing. Undead are against nature, therefore it's evil.
Their explanation's entirely negative energy side of it.
Yeah. Now, granted,
druid propaganda.
Now, granted, liches generally are just evil, anyways. At the very least, they're wizards and can't be trusted, or former wizards.
They don't have to be wizards; they'd be clerics.
I think they technically be sorcerers.
It'd be any spellcaster.
Was they any spellcaster? Okay.
Uh-huh.
They could be bards.
Yep.
I like the idea of the arcane trickster who got to roll so high on pickpocketing, he pickpocketed his own soul out of his body. Oh, I have made a mistake. I gotta put this in like a shoebox or something.
I mean, have you made a mistake? You just gained
like
a
an
lich that way.
evil shoebox.
Lizard folk.
Lizard folk, one of my favorite.
Yep. Mainly the reason they're here. So, Shiv, you want to take this one?
Yeah, lizard folk. They're all, as you can see, lizard people. In the 5th ed, they're elementals now.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, because the only lizard folk they have are like weird, like earth. They became like earth elementals, effectively, like elementals attuned to the earth. Reptilian lizards, neutral, typically. Totally cool with cannibalism. Not even as like a we have to survive thing. Pretty sure they're just totally cool with cannibalism, if I remember correctly. Can be a player race. Not great, but it works.
Now, when you say cannibalism, do you mean eating lizard folk?
Yes.
Or eating people in general?
Yes.
Yes. So the
Lizard folk, yeah, that's cannibalism.
Yeah, so one of the paramount things of lizard folk is that they are all about survival, including their god, who is all about survival.
It's fair.
So you do what you take to survive.
Yeah.
Yep, their patron deity,
It's in there.
Samuanya.
Samaranya.
Yeah. Whose domains are, just pick some.
Yeah, and chief concerns are survival and make more.
Yep. But yeah, as far as playing them as a character, stats aren't terrible. +5 natural armor is legit nice. They actually justify the +1 level adjustment. They also have
5
2
natural armor is big.
Yeah. Granted, they also have 2 racial hit dice, and the humanoid racial levels are mediocre. But
Another humanoid racial level, so their medium attack bonus special right home about. But
yeah.
But you're not like overly nerfing yourself if you want to play Lizard Folk for funsies.
Yep.
You'll be tougher than average.
We did not just jump ahead to W. This is lycanthropes, and it happens to be werebears, werewolves, and wererats.
They're all right there.
All the wares.
All the wares. All the were turning into a were gives you or changes your alignment. Werewolves are chaotic evil, wererats are lawful evil, and do you want to guess what werebears are? Because you're wrong. I believe werebears are actually lawful good of all things.
That makes sense.
I do believe werebears are lawful.
Oh, this is some were-rat.
Nope, you're always evil. Always lawful evil. Gotta deal with it.
Lawful good. Yeah, werebears are lawful good.
Yeah, werebears are good.
Yeah. Not depicted are wereboars, which are always neutral. Were-tigers, which are always neutral. And I think that is it. There are more standard entries for werewolf, and you can kind of guess why.
It is now.
It is the classic one, yeah.
The classic.
Also, you're more likely to fight werewolves and to some extent wererats. Wererats are a lower challenge rating, but okay, at a certain point, either you left a silver dagger lying around in a previous room, or you're being a dick to your players. For some reason, wererat at challenge rating 2 has DR10 silver.
Well, you're being a dick to the were-rats, so I think it's only fair.
Yeah, if you don't have a caster that can actually do damage, there's a very good chance your wererat is not immune to fucking damage.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, though. That CR2 wererat has 12 fucking hit points.
It does have
12. Cast one magic missile and move on.
Magic missile. This is level 2, you've got one magic missile. It's a D4 +1 damage.
Cast a couple, then. Still. Burning Hands. Take your pick. It has 12 hit points.
Yeah.
Can't believe this. Were you going to eat that moldy bread? No, you weren't going to eat that moldy bread. The were-rat will eat the moldy bread.
Use a great sword and roll high.
I don't have a problem with the were-rat eating the moldy bread, but he keeps trying to nibble on my feet, too.
Your feet should not taste like moldy bread, then.
Gotta nibble on your toesies.
But yeah. D&D goes with the classic lycanthropy is a curse. If you're like hit by a lycanthrop of one sort or another, you'll eventually turn into one. Assuming they didn't just murder the shit out of you. Not much more to say on that, really, but yeah. The Pisco Demon.
Yeah.
Mind Flayers, very much a classic monster of D&D.
Yep. They eat brains.
Yeah. All they want to do is eat your brains. Okay, they want to do a lot
They're
more.
not
Than
on
just
Reason to say that's zombies.
Well, they want to eat your brains. They want to turn you into more of them. They want to...
There's a lot going on with them as a race in general, but yeah, they are the evil they are the evil aberration race of note, even more so than Aboleth, which I believe they actually got into a war with.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah,
They are one of the other races that, when you think D&D, this you think of.
Yeah.
Especially nowadays, considering Baldur's Gate 3 and how popular it was.
Yep. I mean, it was unsurprising that they were involved.
Just wall to wall, head to toe illithids.
Yep. But yeah, illithids are generally extra planar in nature. I come from outside the mortal realms and are generally interested in taking slaves, occasionally eating the brains of said slaves, and doing various evil shit.
They're in an eternal war with the Githyanki.
Yep, because they created the Githyanki, well, they created the Gith in general as slaves, and the Githyanki still take offense to that. Understandably.
Which is fair.
Also, the Githyanki themselves are militarist assholes who also do quite a bit of conquering.
Let's not pretend this is a war between good and evil. This is kind of a let them fight situation.
Yeah.
Let's just, you guys go fight in another plane. We don't care where. Just fuck off. We're not going to touch your swords.
It's a pretty nice looking sword.
No. Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth.
But I want the sword.
No, I'm not saying I want it. No. I'm just saying it looks nice in their hands, away from me.
Are you prepared for your entire family to be cornholed by Githyanki spears?
First, I was hoping they'd try and corner me with a sword so I could take those too.
Indeed. Mummies! I mostly put them here because Mommy Run is a funny thing.
This is a funny thing is not how I'd say, but okay.
Yeah. So, there are a lot of rules for diseases in this game, and it's mainly because they're just random monsters with diseases, because fuck you. And Mummy Run is like one of the classics of that. This is also very much the old-fashioned shambling I'm covered in bandages mummies.
Yep. Well, they do have Mummy Lord there, and they're a cleric.
Yeah.
Yep.
Typical mummy priest.
Oozes! Again here, because very much oozes, and specifically gelatinous cube, are very much classic D&D monsters.
I'm not going to lie, I played the Neverwinter MMO for like 3 months, simply because I ended up getting one of those things as a mount from one of the chests. It's amazing. Gelatinous cube, it's you floating in the cube as it moves along.
Well, I guess that's a way of doing that.
Yep.
But yeah, oozes in general are a interesting random dungeon encounter, I'd say. But also yet another way of annoying the rogue, because I think we've because I think we've gone over this beforehand. Like, undead are immune to sneak attack, constructs are immune to sneak attack, plants are immune to sneak attack. And yeah, oozes are also immune to sneak attack in this edition.
Yep.
There's a good portion of the monster manual that just makes your rogue field useless. Orcs! Classic Tokunesh orcs. I believe I actually put the orc stat block here. Yes, I did. These are almost usable. As long as you don't mind tanking all of your mental stats a little bit.
Well, you know.
It's almost usable, and we'll forgive him for that.
Yeah. But yeah, I think we talked extensively about this enough in the player's handbook as well, so... the owlbear.
The owlbear.
Yep. This
Super
is what
classic
happened...
D&D monster.
Classic D&D monster. The origins of owlbear are, there was a wizard. I don't think we have to explain anything more.
Yep.
He had a giant owl and a bear. Yeah, that... and
Word.
I want the owlbear that the other wizard made, who was like, I have a regular owl and a bear. Bear body, little tiny owl head on it.
Well, this is somehow more and less disturbing.
Look, I wanted one too. I worked with what I had.
Calm down there, Show Tucker.
I had this child and a dog.
Their inseparable bond will move you to tears.
Plain touched.
Tieflings and Esmar.
Yep, Tieflings and Aasimar. Tieflings are actually like a base book race in future editions of D&D, but here not as much. They're also both primary examples of yeah, you could just drop the level adjustment. It's fucking fine. It's
I mean, they did in Pathfinder.
Huh?
They did in Pathfinder.
Yeah. Pathfinder, they also increased the base stats to +2 as an average, and didn't mind the fact that Aasimar had +4 because whatever, it doesn't mean that much.
Yep.
Yeah, they way overweight what stat bonuses actually mean. This also gives you some elemental resistance, which is kind of cute, but not really all that great.
Yeah, but that's mainly it.
Yeah. Pseudo Dragon.
The improved familiar.
Yeah, basically the improved familiar. You generally get Pseudo Dragon because it's a cute little thing. What do you want?
Yeah.
Like
It's adorable.
Yep.
Has a stinger.
Yep. Rakshasa. This is also Rakshasa are not from D&D originally, obviously. They're
no.
But this type of Rakshasa, most notably, although I don't think it's depicted very you kind of see it. Notably, Rakshasa have their hands actually backwards in D&D.
Yep.
Basically, the thumb is on the opposite side of where you would think it would be. Just swap the left and right hand.
Huh.
Yeah. I think almost always tend to be like lion people, or they have pretty much that appearance. They are lion people, I think, pretty much exclusively.
In D&D.
Or tiger people in D&D, yeah. That is absolutely not how they are in
in like
South
Hinduism and Buddhism, where they came from.
Yeah. I think there are just various appearance. I don't want to say demon because it's not quite right, but
various appearance people in certain number of heads and arms here.
Yep.
Yeah, I could have sworn they had a multiple arm thing.
Also, Jesus Christ has a +7 level.
Though to be fair, that's only I think the only thing I'd seen for them has been SMT designs.
Remora.
Yep, Remoras. To repeat myself. Yep. To repeat myself, another classic D&D monster. They like their very multiple limbed worm things. By the way,
I was gonna say that looks like
that one is like a giant centipede thing. It doesn't really have hands per se.
True.
I was gonna say that looks like a giant version of, or a multi-armed version of the thing we've fought in Monster Hunter Wilds.
The flying.
But this doesn't fly.
Yeah.
This burrows. It does still live in icy areas, but it is also incredibly hot.
Yes.
Yep.
Like melting weapons hot.
Yes.
Yep. Speaking of destroying weapons.
Oh, goddamn rust monsters. I found out about those on the first Eberron campaign I ever played. Guess what race I was?
A corpse?
Yes. That is how that ended.
Oh, you've identified the monster. It's a rust monster. Put the chair down, put the chair down.
When you're playing a Warforged, you scream like a frightened child.
We made entirely out of wood.
Yep.
So yeah.
I was not.
So if you want another monster that is just going to make the guy trying to play the martial character just like
so upset.
Find the nearest wooden club and then beat the DM. It's like
pretty much.
Let's see. Also, this is like Challenge Rating 3, just to rub that in a bit more. It's like yeah, I think like anything you use to hit them, and yeah,
primarily made of metal.
Yeah, so
Magic items get a reflex save. It's DC 17.
Hooray. Basically, see if you can pull it away in time.
No, it's just magic items are resistant to a degree, but if that resistance gets penetrated, they rust like everything.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I mean, the reflex save is still done by the person holding it. It's but yeah. I'm just trying to think how that would actually be, or how I would actually flavor that. That's probably just pulling it away before the rust takes effect.
Yeah, that makes the most sense.
Making sure to dodge all the little feelers it has that actually have the rust effect on it.
Yeah, effectively. Or more than likely, just not using a metal weapon of any sort on it if I can avoid it.
And this is why the archer reigns supreme.
Yeah. So
Hagen. Goblins, but underwater.
Yeah, basically.
Pretty much.
They are one of the oldest monsters in D&D, and strangely enough, they are not actually inspired by Cthulhu mythos. It's more just the like, what if humanoid but shark type of thing.
Yep.
That's fair.
Yeah. As far as how they are flavor-wise, what if humanoid but shark? They're very much raiding predators.
They're fish goblins.
Yeah, they're fish goblins.
They're fish goblins, but not cowards like goblins.
Now, goblins are actually Lancehagen.
So Hagen be offended by that.
Skeletons.
Brellington.
Yep. Also a template, but in this case, it's kind of another thing that you can interestingly do with a template. What if I want to throw a giant at my party, but they can't handle a giant?
We'll murder them.
A giant will murder them. I can throw the skeleton template on it because it actually does the opposite of what other templates do. It actually reduces their challenge. Mostly. Yep. Unless there's a rogue in the party, in which case I continue to make the rogue cry.
Technically
what they did.
I don't believe the template has a level adjustment on it, but God, does it make the vast majority of things you put it on weaker.
Yes, it does.
Turns out that big things tend to have high constitution scores. And being undead,
you don't have a
constitution score.
No.
And most of your health for those big monsters comes from the hit points they get from having a high constitution score.
I think I remember them getting bonus hit points based on size, but I could be wrong. They definitely get bonus armor class.
It's like putting him at a default of a D12, I'm noticing.
Yes, all undead have D12. I think Pathfinder gave them flat hit points.
Yeah, that
additional
might have been it.
Based on their size, but I don't think regular D&D does.
Yeah. Zombie isn't here, but zombie is basically the same idea.
Yep.
Let's see. The Slod!
Slod.
Yep.
Remember that Sonic community?
Yeah. So yeah, there are 5 elemental types. Fire, cold, lightning, acid, and sonic. Everything from every other plane will have some interactions with the other 4 types and absolutely no resistance or immunity to sonic whatsoever. Sonic is the most reliable damage. Except for Slod, who are immune. Slod are the major outsider denizens of Limbo, the pure chaotic plane.
Yep, they are chaotic neutral.
Yep, they are chaotic neutral, except for the Death Slot, who's chaotic evil. Basically, they change.
He's chaotic evil, and he bought a fucking sword from a mall.
Yes, he'd buy a sword from a mall.
Look at that shit.
It's him going through the edgelord phase. What do you want?
A fucking ball ninja.
But yeah, Slod change between the various forms. They're not anywhere near it. They're not anywhere near as iconic as any of the other types. Like Modrons, you will actually see in a decent amount of places in older editions of D&D, and in 5th edition you actually see them on occasion as well. Slod don't really make much appearances because, I mean, they're toad people and were never really that popular. but they do technically exist.
Yep.
Swarm rules. Because trying to make your player characters fight a bunch of centipedes as a bunch of individual monsters will lead to a lot of problems. I like the idea of swarms, but much like everything in this edition, it is to some extent overbuilt. I think this one's actually less so when it comes to swarms, but I'll be damned if I can remember all the rules for them. Also notable Hell Wasp Swarm because, you know. The Tauros.
The legendary Tauros.
Legendary Tauros, and like in all editions, there's some way or another to just cheese this thing in a fight without really much issue.
Well, all we're gonna do is give a bunch of peasants a single, like, metal rod and have them pass it between themselves really quickly.
And then when the rod gets there, it just falls on the ground, because that's not how it works. We're not doing the peasant railgun.
But that's when you reveal the real trick. It's a 0-point immovable rod. Positioned in just the right place. When you activate it, it plunges into the Tarrasque and carries him off the planet.
So the greatest defense against this Tarrasque is being,
in the air.
Yeah, being in the air. Being 55 feet up.
Out of its reach.
Yeah. It's like, everything about this could be terrifying. It doesn't fly.
Now, granted, it's hard to actually hurt.
Yes. Let's see, it has regeneration 40, and from what I remember, you overcome its regeneration by you don't?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Which means it's going to restore 40 HP around.
Literally cannot hurt it with hit point damage. You cannot kill it with hit point.
Technically can't kill it, you can knock it out. Yeah, because regeneration, like everything in this edition, it means more than what it says it does.
Yep.
So, whenever it takes damage, it's non-lethal by default. Unless you've turned its regeneration off by using whatever it's weak against. Which in this case is literally nothing.
Nothing.
Let's see. It also heals that much per round, which is what you would think it would do. Let's see. Trolls. Also, there's a number Hulk on this page, and you could pretty much talk about both. But yeah, they go with...
Sure does exist.
Yep. But yeah, they go with the classic Tolkien-esque troll as well. So it is the big lumbering monster style thing. More notable is it also has the regeneration, or it also regenerates, except unlike the Tauros, is much more killable.
Fire and acid.
Yeah, fire and acid will turn off its regeneration. Let's see, what else is in here? Ah, yes, vampires. Creating a vampire, Jesus Christ, that's a lot of rules.
Yep.
Yeah, vampires is a template.
Yep.
As you can see, it is a template with +8 level adjustment. So if as a player character you want to be a level 1 player in a level 9 campaign, or a level 1 player in a level 9 campaign, go nuts.
You can be a very vulnerable vampire.
Yes. Like, tell me you don't want me to do something without telling me you don't want me to do something. I don't think that... I don't think I could ever justify the 8 levels a bit. The worst part is, it's like, the challenge rate is +2. It's...
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, the challenge rate +2, because, I mean, honestly, the same reason why the level adjustment should be designed. The vast majority Text doesn't fucking matter most.
No, it doesn't.
Yep.
And like being super hyper defensive, like a vampire is for the most part, doesn't matter once you've been knocked out by players.
Yeah.
And players are designed to knock you out. Like, yeah, you get back up, but the player's just going to stake you and then throw you in the sun. I mean,
Yeah.
this is much more important for a player character who can get knocked out, not die, and the party just has to not, throw him in a moving. I don't think they're moving rivers in this one. Throw him in the sunlight, or let a paladin smite him or something.
Let's see. Looks like sunlight, wooden stake through heart kills it.
Oh no, do have can't cross running water.
Okay.
They have like all the traditional vampire stuff: garlic, holy symbols, crossing running water.
Yeah. In later editions, they have Dampire, I think it is, or Dampier.
Dampier.
Yeah. Something that is a much more mild take on vampire. So anyone who
half vampire effectively.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyone who actually wants to run like a vampire-esque thing because they've read too many Twilight novels or something, can do so without it being such a horrendous pile of rules.
Yep.
Emphasis on the horrendous part. Let's see. You want tea? Yep.
Snake.
Yep. Snake people.
Some more snake than others.
Yeah, the purebloods are more snake. The half-bloods are less snake. All of them come with the yeah. Here's a player character option, but no, not really. It's
Yep.
I mean, purebloods are only level 6 characters.
yeah, it's 4 class die.
They
they're
get full
probably
BAB because
runnable.
their monster is humanoid.
Yeah, that's true enough. Yeah, so they're probably runnable as like as a martial character.
I don't know if you have the other page on here. I think Abomination have a running player thing.
I don't have the other page in here, but I can look it up.
Abominations being the half snake person.
Yep.
Yeah. They do not actually.
No, they don't.
I don't think. Strangely enough, it has level adjustment on the Abomination, but not.
I mean, technically speaking, I think a lot of things have level adjustment.
Yeah.
Even if they don't have a specific here's as character section.
But yeah, they don't have it as character section separated out, so you'd actually have to reverse engineer it.
Like Yanti Half-Blood has a level.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, there's only rules for purebloods straight written out.
Yep.
Yeah, they both have.
Yeah, I think the vast majority of monsters have a level adjustment stat in there, so you could.
I think
break it out effectively.
Yeah, I think anything that isn't mindless or animalistic intelligence has something listed on level adjustment. Chapter 2.
Animals.
Yep. 268 pages later to chapter 2.
Yep.
I mean, unsurprisingly, the vast majority of the monster manual is monsters. Yeah, this section exists for the druid mainly, and occasionally, like, I don't know, something low level you can throw at a party just because you want to have a combat. You're in the woods, you encounter a bear or something. But yeah, not really much else to say on that chapter. Chapter 4, Improving Monsters. So, as we've more than alluded to and kind of talked about, monsters are all basically built on the same engine that is used to build player characters and character classes. Only with every type basically kind of having its own hit dice, its own attack bonus, its own saves, its own skill points. What skills they actually have is dependent on the monster itself, so that in and of itself is its own thing. And this is way the fuck overbuilt, quite frankly, for building out monsters for encounters. It is literally asking you to basically throw math upon math at the wall in order to, like, build every little nuance of a thing. And, okay, realistically, what you actually need is, like, even for this edition, you need its AC, its touch AC, its flat-footed AC, its saves, its attack bonus, and what that attack does, and whatever special abilities you want to throw on. And all of this other stuff is a bunch of math equations you've given to yourself for fun. In order to make this take way longer than it actually should. You just basically need its defenses and its attacks and whatever special need abilities you need. You do not have to go through this giant-ass rigmarole in order to make a monster just for your player characters to kill it. If you want to make your own unique monster. This is way overdoing it. Just figure out the amount of hit points that should be appropriate, whatever defenses should be appropriate, and whatever you want to do, and you're good to go. I do appreciate the way overcommitment to detail and nonsense that this the entire chapter is about, but man, is it overkill.
Concepting monsters.
Yep.
Making your own stuff.
Yeah, making your own stuff. Again, it's like the chapter beforehand, it is a lot of overbuilt, but at least I appreciate the advice and the idea. And this is more going over the fluff and everything too. To be fair, here's some basic questions. That's all nice and all. On the other hand, if you're making a monster, almost always you have a top-down concept anyways. So, like, if you're in this chapter already, you've probably already thought about it. But there are some decent questions there nonetheless. What do you expect your creature to do in this game? Where does it live? How does it live? You'd be surprised at how much that can actually make people try and think about it. Well, let's see. Obviously, this is big, double-horned, burrowing thing with wings that lives in a desert, feeds on cactuses. Don't think about it too much. Let's... Monster skills and feats. I legitimately forgot and will continue to forget that control shape is actually a skill in this game and in this book.
Yeah, it matters exclusively for Lycanthrope.
Yeah.
And it's used to try and force them to or try and change back, or force yourself to not change.
Which begs the question, why?
It really only matters for player characters because you want the skill points in, so you don't turn your character, your fighter in your party who got lycanthropy to murdering half the party in their sleep.
Yeah, I guess, but I don't know. There are better ways
to
handle
less
this.
Skills.
Yeah, it's like there are better ways to handle this than have a freaking skill based around it. Okay, so on to the stuff that
The skill that doesn't matter for NPCs because they're just going to change whenever you want them to.
No, we have to overbuild NPCs. They need ranks and control shape, and we need to roll to see whether or not they change.
Yeah, they definitely have those. Don't look at the character sheet.
Yeah. I mean, the idea... I'm not even sure what the idea was on this one, but... Like
I said, they wanted you to have to make a check to see if you could stay in shape or turn into an evil werewolf.
Okay, so the rest of the...
Have your own party.
Yep. The rest of these 2 pages, the feats that actually come in this book. They are feats that are meant specifically for monsters with the exception of Craft Construct, but as the edition goes on, it actually becomes feats that player characters can more and more take because various classes and or races that get printed that legitimately can use them. Sometimes they get reprinted in future books. Sometimes you have to convince your DM that you should be allowed to take improved natural armor. Because you probably should. It's not really that bad, that good a feat. There's also Craft Construct here for some reason.
Yep.
I think mostly just to keep players from actually getting a hold of Craft Construct, which granted, there's an XP cost attached to it. How likely are they to even make a golem?
Can never trust NPCs. Look, at a certain point, everyone but the wizard has died in the party, so now he's just burning levels to get back in line with the rest of the party by making magic items and gold. Game balance.
I'm 5 levels.
By the way, we have a golem now.
We have this. Yeah, we have this iron golem over here.
That certainly won't make the fighter feel bad.
But other things of note are quicken spell-like ability and empower spell-like ability.
Ability focus as well.
Yeah, and ability focus as well. Yeah.
Multi-attack. Improved now.
Yeah, multi-attack, which actually comes up a lot more when you start to get into races that actually do have natural attacks and you actually want to legitimately attack with them, or one class in one book that gets almost no love or attention and I wish was better than it actually is. Especially the other classes in that book. But we'll get to that one later. But yeah. In general, I think... oh yes, finally, the glossary.
The glossary is actually incredibly important in this book.
Yes, because the glossary has all those rules for all those types, including, like, the random things they are immune to, whether or not they eat, sleep, and breathe. That part's
Also, how things like ability score loss work.
Yeah.
Rules you'd think would be in other books are in the monster manual.
Nah. Why would they need to be in other books? You bought all 3, right?
Well, I mean, you should have all 3.
You should have all 3. The game is actually not functional without all 3.
These are the core.
Yeah.
It's weird to put those in here, not, the player's handbook or the DnD.
Yeah.
Realistically, the player's handbook, because they're basic rules.
Yeah.
Like, all the type stuff being in here makes no sense, because for the most, like, realistically, outside of using the monster manual, the players are all humanoid.
No,
special, but...
Players should not know the rules for flying, because it's not like there's a level 2 spell that lets them fly or something.
I don't think the rules for flying are in this book, though. They're in the
They're in the DM's guide. No, but you get the fucking point. It's like...
Yeah.
I mean, this book is much more of a Dungeon Master tool than it is a player's tool. Though, as said, early in the edition, this is probably the... If you actually... No one in 2003, I think, had... Even us had too much of an idea what really the extent of the martial caster divide until, like... we played the edition a decent amount and realized, oh yeah, these spells are just fucking broken.
Yep.
But if in excuse me, if in a more modern contents for some reason you were actually playing 3.5 and for some godforsaken reason we're just limited to the core books, the best way of actually making a martial character that is at least somewhat on par with casters, especially as they start to level, is probably to actually use this book and dig into like the more viable race and template options. Like even just having a human with like the half dragon template could make for a pretty viable martial character. Also, this handy page, monsters ranked by challenge rating. So you actually get a good idea of, like, something that should be around the appropriate challenge for my party. Like that where we're at. Wait.
Yep.
Yes, boo!
Like I said, it has 12 hit points. You roll, like, good twice the great sword.
Yeah. It's true. If you have a big enough weapon, it's good strength bonus, you might be able to just crack through the 10 DR. It's just 10 DR silver. It's just fucking hilarious.
Yeah, but it's only a DC 10 to hurt their feelings.
Skill issue.
This is true.
Roll better. Filthy rat.
Oh, you're not getting any of the moldy bread.
Fish for crits.
That's fine. Also, stop gnawing on my foot.
No.
But in all seriousness, it's not just in this edition of D&D, but in any edition of any RPG that has like a combat system akin to this one, where there's challenge ratings, you should try and get a good feel of what a party can actually do and take on, and then look at the actual monster you're throwing at them before you do so, and figure out whether or not it's going to be a challenge, whether or not you should, modify it behind the scenes, etc., etc. Also, whether or not this fight's actually going to be interesting, or are we just throwing dice at each other?
You guys hit them on 50% of the time. It's not my fault.
I wasn't talking about anything specifically. I was just giving general advice. But bad dice rolls aside.
AC was only 17. I understand.
And I have advantage, yes, I know.
17.
Advantage, you guys in 11s, there's 5 of you.
Listen, I only get one turn around.
So do they.
They get multiple attacks around.
You have 5 of you.
And there were like 10 of them.
There were 2 of them.
Oh, that one?
Yeah,
no,
there was only 2 of them. There were more monsters in that fight, but there were only 2 of them. Or
Yeah.
random. Dudes,
Yeah, there
I
was the
forget
guy
who it
who
was.
didn't have 17 AC who died quickly, and the 2 who did have.
He was also a caster, so he was going to die quickly
Which
because
is
we're not
most
stupid.
It's rolling dice, rolling misses, and moving on despite your 50% hit chance.
Hey, 50% hit chance means 50% miss chance.
I wish you guys only had a 50% miss chance.
I said chance, not actual.
Listen, we had a small sampling size. We hit a very low point in that sample.
I'd say based on the number of dice you rolled, you didn't have that low of a sample size.
For appropriate sample on dice, you need about 10,000 rolls.
Blame computerized rolling. I always will.
But yeah, that is this book. Slightly faster than the last 2, but again, there's not much rules depth to go into. Especially stuff that would probably be even more boring than what we already got into, quite frankly. And flavor-wise, a lot of these are classic monsters for good reason. I mean, like, they've been around. They've been around since the beginning of D&D, and have been around since as well. So, also,
Some have gone through changes, some more drastic than others.
yep. And again, there's future books that focus on a good deal of them as well, most notably the Demons and Devils.
And undead.
And undead. But yeah, as far as like old D&D books are concerned, this is probably the most useful one if you're just looking for like ideas of random things to throw at a party. Even if you're not using the rules of 3E5 in any capacity, just reading through random abilities can actually give you like various ideas for what to do with like a monster of one sort or another you might be throwing at the party, or you can ape the thing in general and just adapt to whatever rule system you're using. And granted, I could pretty much say that about like a lot of various other monster manuals from other D&D or D&D editions, but I'd probably say this one's a little bit better in general at that. This one and 5th edition, when it comes to just here's a monster and here's what it does. 5th edition is probably a little bit better in the sense that the stat blocks aren't quite as much of a mess, and split somehow into both the stat block and text on the page for reasons.
Yeah, it's the splitting all the like special abilities into the combat section of the
And not have
just text, and not just like here's a line for the ability, here's what it does in the actual stat block.
yeah. And also not writing out occasionally stuff like, this has undead traits. What are undead traits? Go look them up.
Yep.
We have a glossary for a reason.
For those curious, because we've played this edition enough to memorize them, undead traits are it can't be crit, and healing harms it, and negative energy heals it. Okay, I'm done.
Isn't it also immune to mind affecting stuff?
Yeah, I believe it does. Yeah, I think it is immune to mind affecting stuff as well.
Yeah.
I think those tend to be written under immunities when it comes to undead, at least. Because there is an actual section for that, but I'm not positive. I'm even less positive because whoever did the bookmarking on this intentionally seemed to have left out all the undead.
They're nasty. I don't like them.
Yeah, there's not a bookmark for Lich. There's not a bookmark for Skeleton. There's not a bookmark for Zombie.
Does Vampire have one?
Vampire Spawn does.
Okay.
But not Vampire.
What about Ghost?
No, but Ghoul does.
Okay.
So they left out some undead and left in others. I haven't even noticed other monster types missing just undead for some reason.
Weird.
They might have left out. Okay, I don't see Celestial actually. Now that I look at it, other halves. Okay, I think they left out templates for whatever reason on the bookmarks.
I mean, even if they let out templates, there's still like actual stat blocks for some things pre-built.
Everything that has a template has a pre-built stat block of one sort or another. Like the Jarek Ghost was like a level 5 fighter, for example.
You can say skeletons, yeah, Ghost.
Yeah, there's a ton of skeletons already pre-built. Same with zombies. But yeah, for whatever reason, it seems like they left every template off the bookmarks for whatever reason.
I guess those are just example of templates, not an actual, like, this is a thing. Whereas Vampire Spawn is not so much a template applied to a human body, but an actual creature.
Oh yeah, Vampire Spawn is an actual creature. It's not a template.
Yeah, okay, so that makes sense. Yeah, there's no templates in there, just creatures directly.
Well, it's a logic. It doesn't make sense, but it is a logic that they use. I don't know why I don't have the... It's...
Yes. Sorry, when I said made sense, I meant specifically, we understand why there isn't a link for it, but we disagree with it.
Yeah.
They were just marking creatures, not templates.
But yeah, in any case, that finishes with Monster Manual. We don't really have enough time tonight to go into another book, but at the very least we got this one done. So, join us on Sunday from when we continue more Super Robot Wars 30. Join us on Monday for the
Pokemon Heart Gold, Soul Silver.
No.
Soul Silver.
No,
Ultra Sun, Ultra
Sun, Ultra Moon.
Soul Link run, where you're on your 4th one still. Because I don't think,
Yep, so on the 4th seed. Yep.
Yeah, on the 4th seed still. So at the very least, that
we've completed one island of the island challenge.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. That one has island challenges instead of gyms, is it?
Yep.
Okay.
My Mega Tyranitar hard carrying.
Doing a pretty good job. My Floette's doing a good job too.
I mean, Floette has great stats because it's an eternal Floette, so yeah.
You two with Pokemon that are not technically let's just
they should not technically exist.
Yeah. Well, they shouldn't technically be... Yeah. One you shouldn't technically be able to have because the Eternal Flower one isn't...
and one shouldn't stay before it's in.
And the other... Yeah. And join us back here next week for when we... move on, or move down the timeline, since we have now finished with July of 2003 when these books were released, to October of 2003 when the next 2 books were released. And we'll easily get through both of them. So we'll be going over the Miniatures Handbook and the Book of Exalted Deeds. Till then, I'm Vincent.
I've been the Krampus.
I've been Shiv.
I've been Hunter Crane.
And I'm Vincent. And remember, everyone, to go to OBS so you can actually stop the stream when you want to.
Also, make sure to wear silver chainmail socks so those wear rats will stop gnawing on your toes.
That's
Indeed.
prejudice.
Also, hindsight's 2020.